Well, greetings everyone, and welcome to this episode of our WCN Fluencers. And my guest today is Melissa Kahn from Kahn HealthCare Consulting. Melissa, welcome.
Good morning, Chris. How are you? Excited to be here and tell some of your listeners about an exciting new program we're doing.
And that's right, it is exciting. You have some very important news to share. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to you.
Sure, thank you. So we're excited that over the last couple of years, we've learned a lot of lessons at Kahn HealthCare Consulting regarding the pandemic and what families have faced and the struggles they have gone through. In my practice, I have been doing preventive care planning for more than 17 years and helping organizations and services to really look at strategies around aging, Alzheimer's, and healthcare workforce development. And during the pandemic, created a mindful session for paid caregivers. And what came out of that was we saw the need for support for those who are in the front lines, but also they were also going home to take care of their own loved ones and were also family caregivers. Right. So that got me thinking, and I reached out to a colleague and friend, Jeannie McInerney from Heal Chicago, who does a lot of work in the area of anti-racism, resilience building, and really helping organizations grow. And we realized we had an opportunity to partner with the two things we had created to really expand and make a larger program for family caregivers. With funding from RRF Foundation on Aging, we're excited that we have been able to develop a 6-week caregiver program for families that have been marginalized during the pandemic. And the goal is really to lift them, to make sure they're heard, and give them an arena that they're supported in. And since they're family caregivers, they often can't leave home. So this is virtual. For those participants in the Chicagoland area and those that don't have computers, we will be providing them. Those that live out of state will have to have a computer and internet access in order to participate. But if they're 50 years and older, caring for a loved one for a minimum of at least 6 months and doing about 20 hours a week, we want to make sure they're supported in this journey. This will be a 6-week program that meets for 90 minutes, and at the end of the 6 weeks, all of the participants will receive a stipend, because we know that caregiving is burdensome and the financial demands can be great sometimes. So we want to ease some of that burden. And the stipend can be used as they wish, if it means buying extra supplies or helping, bringing in somebody else to care for their loved ones so they can participate in the program. That's really up to them. I mean, the goal of this program is to really build resilience, alleviate some of the stress, and provide support for unpaid family caregivers that are 50 years older, caring for a loved one. The program is also really designed to lift people, to make sure they're not isolated, that they're supported, and they have the means to have a community of practice.
Well, this is real exciting news, Melissa, but tell our listeners and our viewers how they can register and sign up for the program.
Absolutely. They can either contact Jeannie McInerney, myself. They can call me at 773-907-9788. They can contact Jeannie or me at our first name, so Jeannie, Geanne, at healchicago.org, or Melissa at healchicago.org. And anybody, any organization that would like a flyer, we can send that to them so that we're making sure to reach those who really need the support. That can be older adults that are living in rural areas, members of communities of color, immigrants, LGBT community members, anybody who's caring for a loved one who has really felt isolated, who feels that they're struggling and they need the support. This is meant to be their space and grace.
Talk a little bit more about Space and Grace. I just love that name.
During the summer when I was doing the test pilot, I realized that so many people not only were struggling, but nobody had asked them how they were doing. Nobody had really listened to the challenges they were facing, whether not only caregiving, but last summer during the first year, there was a lot of racial unrest, there was political upheaval, and so I think a lot of people felt incredibly burdened and stressed by all these things. And they were carrying this on their shoulders, and we realized everybody needs a place to have some space to talk about this without judgment, within an area that lifts their concerns, that acknowledges them, and gives them the tools to build resilience so they can continue on in this journey. Because we know that caregiving is a marathon. It is not a sprint.
It's not a sprint for sure. It is a marathon, and it can change at a moment's notice.
And it usually does.
What I really like about this is it's open to everybody. And, I think we'll both agree that when it comes to caregiving, there are no boundaries. Caregiving impacts everybody. There's no economic boundaries. There's no gender boundaries. There's no orientation boundaries. Caregiving is a universal issue, and you're tackling it here, which I think is just fantastic.
We know just from the statistics of dealing with Alzheimer's, there's about 5 or so million people today living with Alzheimer's. And the predictions are by the year 2050, according to the Alzheimer's Association, there'll be over 15 million Americans living with that. That means family caregivers, young family members, older family members, we're all going to be dealing with it. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And we want to make sure that people have the tools, the support, and the resilience, because it's difficult. And we have to give a little bit of grace to those who are doing this and understand the job is difficult. And so, again, the name came about because we felt that everybody needs a little space and grace.
Everybody needs a little space and grace. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you to tell our listeners and our viewers a little bit about the great work that you do at Kahn HealthCare Consulting.
So over the 20 some odd years, I have been really focusing my attention on aging, Alzheimer's, and healthcare workforce development. And originally I was working with organizations helping to develop programs for CVS Pharmacy, the Metropolitan Chicago Healthcare Council, the National Association of Social Workers, really helping to develop programs. And in that, at the same time, I started getting phone calls from people I knew that were dealing with a loved one that was dealing with a cognitive disease, whether it was PICS, Lewy body, frontal temporal dementia, or Alzheimer's. And they were really struggling to figure out, how do you navigate this? And so I really kind of came up with the model of preventive care planning in 2005 that, as I tell my clients, I do not want to put out fires. I want to give them the tools early on so they can prevent them and they feel empowered early on. So a lot of the work I do is really short-lived. I don't stay in the picture long term. I give them the tools way in advance so they are better prepared so that if and when they need certain services, they know the who, what, and where, and how to navigate this journey without panic. Because it's not a matter of if something's going to happen for all of us, it's a matter of when it's going to happen. So I like to be prepared for the what-ifs in life.
Oh, it's so important. If we can have just a little bit of a plan in place before that emergency arises, it makes those difficult situations just a tad bit easier. But let's circle back one more time, Melissa, and let everybody know how they can apply for this fantastic program. And let's remind, it's available to people outside of the Chicagoland area as well.
Absolutely. So if people would like to learn more, they can contact me or Jeannie at Melissa at healchicago.org or Jeannie at Heal Chicago. We can send them a flyer so that they can share this with their community of caregivers. If it's a doctor's office, a social service agency, we're happy to share this so they can put it on a table and caregivers can see this. But we also want people to refer those they know, because a lot of clinicians are the frontline workers working with the families they're taking care of.
Right.
They see that the caregivers are stressed. And we want to make sure they don't fall through the cracks. So they either can contact Jeannie, they can either call her also at 708-995-9298, or me at 773-907-9788.
And we'll have all this contact information available to all of our viewers and listeners below in the comments section. And Melissa, thank you for the great work that you're doing, and thank you for being a WCN Fluencer.
Chris, thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to lift the voices of those who need it the most, our wonderful caregivers.
I'm your host, Christopher McClellan. I've created a life to love after caregiving ends by being with awesome people like Melissa Kahn. To learn more about our WCN Fluencer program, email me direct at wecare@WCN at wholecarenetwork.com. We'll look forward to seeing you for another episode real soon. Take care. Bye for now.